Good morning and welcome to Rising. We've got another great show for you today. At long last, Lindsay Granger has returned.
I am a DC native. Thank you guys for bearing with me. I had to move here. You guys know I lived in Denver, Colorado, and so now I'm officially living in DC, trying to figure out which parts of town I like best, working with my realtor, and we're going to figure it out, but I'm here full time.
Just in time to benefit from the fruits of labor of the Trump administration working so hard to fix the crime problem.
Because crime is so down, right? So I love seeing federal agents all over the street. It's going to be brilliant for me. I'm going to feel so protected by this martial law situation.
Well, let's get right to it. What are we talking about
Okay,
today?
coming up on Rising, victims of Jeffrey Epstein are banding together and have vowed to compile their own so-called client list.
Plus, President Trump is accusing Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and Kim Jong-un of conspiring against him.
And I'll be discussing how Elon Musk seems to be making Grok more ideologically aligned with his own personal views. Graham, so let's first all start with Robby. What's on your radar?
You were giving away the game.
I know, I was trying to tell everybody.
All right, Graham Linehan is an Irish comedian and former television writer, as well as a commentator who's particularly active on transgender issues. Specifically, he opposes the transgender movement and thinks only people who are biologically born as women are in fact women. It's a popular view. He is well known for co-creating the sitcoms Father Ted and the IT Crowd, which are popular and funny. He's a funny man, a comedian, if I haven't made that clear. What's not so funny is that the authorities in Britain arrested and detained him. Why? Because of statements he made on X. Seriously. These statements were not violent. They do not contain illegal messages. They were provocative and anti-trans. You may disagree with them, but they aren't beyond the pale. They don't violate X's terms of service. In the U.S., they would obviously be considered protected by the First Amendment, but of course the U.K. is different than the U.S. And so, when Linehan landed at Heathrow Airport earlier this week, he was arrested by the police. He was interrogated and finally let go, although the condition of his release was that he lost access to his X account. Well, so much for free speech in Britain. The X post that got Graham Linehan in trouble was this one. He wrote, "If a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the bleep," referring to anatomy. Now, genuine threats of violence are not protected speech if they're directed at a specific person and convey a sense of immediacy or of imminent harm. But that's not what this tweet accomplishes. It's a crude joke playing off the fact that Linehan believes if you have the relevant anatomy, you are not a man. You are a man rather than a woman. He's not actually threatening violence against a specific person. If you think that speech should be criminalized, then you must think any and all general calls for aggression against a specific group should be criminalized. Consider the generic statement, for example, "Let's punch Nazis." That's a slogan of Antifa and the far left. I think it's a stupid slogan, but it should not be criminalized. The same obviously goes for this. Civil libertarian Michael Shermer writes on X, "When you can arrest a comedian at the airport for a post on X, you know that the UK has gone for total illiberalism when it comes to free speech. Orwellian doesn't begin to capture this madness." And he's exactly right. People must have the freedom to dissent from progressive orthodoxy. They should not, cannot, must not be jailed for disagreeing with progressive gender theory. But some politicians in the UK, well, they disagree. Here's Zach Polanski, leader of the Green Party of England and Wales, saying he agrees that arresting Linehan was the right thing to do.
We also know that for all of those groups, trans people have been in the sights of the nastiness and the toxicity for a long time. Now, I accept proportionality of police response is a conversation we need to have.
But well, do you think this was proportionate?
I think it was proportionate to arrest him. I think there's a pattern here.
5 armed police officers turning up?
Well, that's the bit that I don't understand why they were armed. Yeah. And again, I'd need to hear about the police response.
And why there were 5, presumably.
For sure.
He only quibbles with the manner of the arrest, not the arrest itself. It bears repeating, the UK does not have the First Amendment, and this sort of thing can happen there. It's bad. It's why our own free speech rights in the US are worth fighting for and preserving at all costs. Even Western, democratic, enlightened Europe has fallen prey to the safe space mentality that it's more important to protect people's feelings than to protect speech. In some sense, the US is the last line of defense for unfettered free speech, and make no mistake, our own government, our own law enforcement would be deployed to enforce censorship if not for the First Amendment. So we must defend it at all costs. Meanwhile, the silver lining here is that Graham Linehan's treatment by the UK authorities is inspiring furious denunciation everywhere, even in the pages of the mainstream media. And I salute the Atlantic's Helen Lewis and others for recognizing that this arrest demonstrates Europe's free speech problem. It is a problem. U.S. authorities like Vice President J.D. Vance are right to present it as such when they complain about how Europe treats its own citizens and, of course, American tech companies with respect to speech. So, Lindsay, this was very viral on social media. Everyone is still talking about it. A comedian being arrested is obviously cause for concern, in my view. What do you think?
I mean, I think being arrested for any tweet or social media post is extreme. Even for me, I think there should be some censorship. We talk about this, but that and what they did at the airport showing up, it's like the use of resources is the argument. It's like, okay, so you're sending and deploying police to arrest this man when he lands like he's some kind of terrorist, and really he put out a tweet. Now, I would say that this is overreach and infringement on people's rights in the U.S. So just looking at the law, I was trying to really understand the differences between the U.S. and the U.K., and there are vast differences. I mean, they have something called the Communications Act of 2003 that says like it's illegal to send grossly offensive, indecent, or menacing statements to anyone online, specifically. So they made that law about 20 years ago to say that they're enforcing, police can come after you if you do this. And so police came after him if he does this. Now, the nuance of being a comedian, I mean, that's an ongoing conversation. You remember with Dave Chappelle, when he got into the trans jokes, people were like, listen, this is off limits, started trying to cancel him. And so there's really a deep, I know we're going to talk more about transgender issues later in the show, but I think like this is one of those things where there is a community that's largely being attacked and of ridicule, but does that mean someone goes to jail for it? Because, I think across the country, there's multiple communities that feel that their voices are suppressed or things happen to them. And people can say things all the time. I talk about how I don't like X because I feel like it just turned into a place where negative stuff comes my way. But he put this blanket statement out to punch people and was actually suggesting violence, but didn't put it at anyone. So correlating who actually is going to be hurt directly by his tweet, I think, will be the hard thing. And so for me, it's always just that, like, does the prosecution match the actual alleged crime? And for this can seem a bit far, even for me.
Right. Under the First Amendment, what kicks it into illegal speech territory is having it imminent lawless action, threats of violence. So it has to be a threat of violence against a specific person. So if you said you're going to punch whoever, or you're advocating, we should punch this person at this time, here's how we're going to do it, then that is not protected speech. Then you could be prosecuted. The police could question you about that kind of thing.
Right.
Still, they probably might not necessarily do it. They would give you a phone call. You might get a visit from them under those circumstances. The UK, it's just as you said, grossly offensive. These are such subjective categories. So then you invite a situation where people are going to be arrested or detained or prosecuted, depending on whether enough people are offended by it. So in this case, trans people, who he's been fighting these people. They don't like him. He hates them.
Right.
It's really consumed his life waging this crusade against them, which he has every right to do. And you don't have to like him in response. You don't have to appreciate his comedy. You don't have to watch his shows or any of that. That's fine. If it's cancel culture, as long as you're being subject to just pure market forces, whatever. We can complain about it, but there's nothing to intervene there. But the trans people called the police on him because they were offended.
But just don't be trans then. Mm-hmm. Why is he jumping in the conversation? Like him, J.K. Rowling, Rowling. Why are you so connected to the issue? Yes, when it comes down to an actual sport and litigating whether or not somebody should play it, fine, be in that conversation. But this is literally an uncalled for, just ongoing attack.
Spaces are being invaded by people who.
And that's also dramatic, which you can agree, right? Female spaces are not being wholly invaded and can't even. Oh my gosh, every bathroom can't. Like this is not actually. There's like this dramatic overselling of what's actually happening day to day. I mean, you and I both are living our normal lives, and I know we're just two examples, but I don't think it's like, wow, trans people are going to ruin his every day.
Completely private, separate bathrooms for all individual people is a perfectly fine goal to move toward.
I haven't come across it, though, is what I'm saying. Has he? Or is he just trying to incite online? And that's where it comes down to, yes, you're a comedian, but you're rapping serious things like they're accusing them of committing violent, abusive acts and then saying, LOL. Like, what part of that is the joke? Because there's people who are crazy and it's their fault, their own. But, if they're committing a violent act, they're inspired by your words.
Well, we're going to talk about this issue a little bit later because Malcolm Gladwell is admitting to a change of heart, or actually that he didn't ever believe it in the first place. And we'll be discussing that.
So Epstein survivors are banding together and vowing action. Hear next how they are taking matters into their own hands. We're going to be right back.